1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Trial by Error Variety Show podcast. This is episode number 47, and I'm your host, Chasnick Rab. Today, we are talking to Dylan of the little project DAILON. You know, it's funny, I've asked him, and I haven't got a response. I'm just assuming he's busy. And I never asked this during the conversation. Is it pronounced Dylan, like your name, or DAILON? So I would think it's DAILON. It's D-A-I-L-O-N. So I'm going to say that. It's DAILON. And Dylan, if you need to correct me, do that in the comments. Well, you guys, it's so good to be back. I hope you enjoyed the really awesome showcase of the Utopia Fest. That was really fun to do and super highly involved in that. If you need information on it, you can go to trialbyerrorvarietyshow.com. Of course, go to utopiafest.com. You don't have to go through me, the middleman. I'm just trying to help you guys out. I'm trying to be just another source. But right now, they have an early bird special going on, and these are the best prices you're going to get. The prices will jump up, I think, in the middle of July. So try to get your tickets soon to that. It's not going to be until November, but if you got a couple $100, buy your ticket now and you can upgrade it later. That's what's super cool about that. If you want to be a part of the street team, like we are here at TBE, you definitely need to sign up. Go to utopiafest.com, find out how. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into this really fun interview. Dylan's just a really positive person. He's got a really good outlook on life. He just seems like a really good human being. And this album, Memoir, is available on Bandcamp. I came across it through the Bandcamp discovery and just thought it was super chill. And then I started to look into the names of the songs and why he wrote the album. And I just, the titles matching the tracks themselves, really, I really felt that. So it's sort of interesting because there's not much lyrical content. However, there is just a lot of feeling in this, and you'll see what I mean. For a digital production, it's just super groovy, and we'll get into why it was all written and stuff like that. But we're gonna start off with the third track on the album, Memoir. This one is called Drifting Apart and Back Together Again. So without further ado, enjoy the show.
hey, it's nice to meet you, man.
You too, man. Very nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me on the show, man. It's been a long road coming putting this release out, so
I saw there was
finally get it out and get some feedback finally. So
yeah, I thought it was great. It was very chill. You know what I do is I kind of just go through the Discover section and Bandcamp, and I look for new releases.
Yeah, it's a great way to find new music. Yeah, Bandcamp's actually it's a little bit like forgotten about. I feel like
it is. I'm always pushing it, but it is.
Yeah. No, I've released a lot of my music on Bandcamp and always had built my mailing list through Bandcamp, and it's a great tool for independent artists.
Yeah. I don't know if I was one of the first people to hop on board, but by the time I got on board, I noticed that, I'd already had a Reverb Nation and a SoundCloud. And I mean, I felt like it was going to make that obsolete.
I know. I almost felt the same way too. I mean, I guess, they all kind of fell into their own
niches.
Their own little benefit for artists in their own way. I mean, like Reverb Nation was one of the ones that I'd actually, been on, but never really like used it much. But yeah, Bandcamp and SoundCloud were always my first two, and I really started putting out a lot of music. And SoundCloud was obviously for me, I think, my biggest tool when I was starting to put out music. It's like in the very early stages of SoundCloud, like 2010, 2011. When it was such a small community, and it was really just about artists connecting with each other, not even as much as a listening platform, for listeners, but it grew into like such a huge, it just boomed for the last, those 5 years. I feel like, obviously ever since Spotify and, these other streaming platforms have come along, SoundCloud's lost a lot of its appeal for artists,
Well, they were talking about closing it down.
Pay for your streams. And,
yeah, it doesn't have that much appeal because people don't feel like they're going to get their top 40s or their new releases from
that's true too.
Kanye
you can't go to,
or whatever.
You can't just go to one place for everything, SoundCloud. So it's kind of like, and it's the platforms had some decisions they've made in the past couple of years. I think that's kind of hurt them. But it's still, I pay so much of my gratitude to that platform because it was after MySpace kind of the next thing. So, but I think it kind of ran its course. So no, it's like blasting Spotify and blasting your Apple Music accounts.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because MySpace took a full circle. I feel like it might even be gaining popularity again. It's back to music again.
Right. Yeah. No, it's kind of funny how that works because I feel like it's kind of becoming more relevant now than it has in the last 10 years. Or it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm super thankful for all of them. Me personally, I have to have all of it. I have to have what's hot, and then I have to have what's new and what's
right.
No unheard. So for me, I'm kind of one of those people who use all the tools.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So where are you based? Where do you live?
Texas, San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, about 35 minutes northwest of there, in a little town called Bandera. And
I have a lot of friends in Texas, and I noticed it was Texas the show when I saw the area location. But I have a lot of friends in Austin and a lot of friends in Houston. So I've been down there. Actually, I've played a lot of shows I've traveled for have been in Texas, oddly.
Have you done some South by Southwest showcases and stuff?
Yeah, I did some South by Southwest showcases. That was kind of, like a 3-year thing. I went down there 2014, 2015, 2016. Or no, sorry, 2013, 2014, 2015. So... I had some good gigs, and I got to meet a lot of people and just kind of connect. I kind of got to meet a lot of people through South by Southwest. So I don't know, for whatever reason, Texas has always been my second home as far as music goes outside of California.
And San Francisco is kind of it's a big city.
Austin, San Francisco,
but kind of like a big little city. That's kind of how they're described, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And now with all the tech stuff, they're talking about, Austin's pretty much like the San Francisco of the of the South. So
very much so. Everywhere is here. Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Amazon, man, everywhere.
Yeah, Amazon. Bezos is
he's all over it.
He's killing it right now.
Well, hey, man, let's not talk about any of that. Let's talk about Memoir. It's got a really good feel. What I get out of it, it is just like an expression of feeling, and a lot of the dub, a lot of that mix down doesn't really translate in a lot of music.
Right.
And I feel like where you were, your description of this and then what I listened to, they were just kind of hand in hand. That's kind of rare.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's, obviously ever since I've gotten into music, it's always just been the way I've been able to express myself the best. So, I've always said that, mood and music go hand in hand. And, the music I was writing here on this album was a lot different from some of the stuff I was putting out like 2 or 3 years ago when I started writing some of these tracks. And I just didn't really know. I didn't really have a home for it yet. I didn't really know where I wanted to, take it. If I wanted to put together like a full length, it just I just slowly built the tracks over the last couple of years when I didn't feel like it was music I wanted to just waste on SoundCloud. So for I thought that it was more meaningful. It was personal. Really, like these tracks were really like kind of like healing for me personally when I was making them. So I just figured I was just gonna build it up, and oddly enough, I'd started mastering, getting the tracks mastered, and really finalizing all of the just the final steps of getting it prepared to release. Right from the beginning of this year. So, it was odd timing. I was kind of trying to put it out around my 30th birthday, which is the end of February. And then I had a little bit of a hiccup in the mastering process, and I had to get the other half mastered later than the first half. So I kind of was right in the process of about to get the second half mastered towards the end of February. And my 30th birthday, and the next week after my 30th birthday, my dad got like really sick. It was out of nowhere. I mean, like, it's still just like every day is really hard, ever since my dad got sick and passed on. And oddly enough, I just felt that this album was something that I had waited for a reason. And as awful as it is, I just, I think this music was something that I wanted to put out finally, for him. I mean, the album was pretty much ready to go, and it just kind of seemed like, when I had the title ready to go, I already called it Memoir. Like last year, it was kind of my title that I tentatively came up with, as like kind of a, it's kind of a diary of my sound, as an evolution of my sound. And I just felt like this was a really personal kind of just journal, and so I just, I oddly just felt like, the whole title and everything that led up to finally having the project ready to release, it just kind of all synchronously happened. So
I definitely got the feel that it was a meditative sort of finish, that nothing, I didn't feel like any album ever just fell short. I felt like it was a lead into sort of,
right.
And when you talk about personal, it felt like almost your mantras, for healing, especially, for losing your father and all of that kind of coming together, especially during at the phase where you're mastering it and you're kind of hearing what the end is going to sound like. Instantly, I felt a little sedated,
Yeah.
And it is very powerful, man. And especially knowing where it came from. So I mean, it's, obviously music always needs to come from the heart. And I think that when you get ready to release a project, it's oddly enough that like life seems to line up with what you're doing, That's kind of how it seemed for me. I mean, maybe it's because music just ties in so much into what I do. And then it's, kind of becomes my life in a sense, in a way, like me expressing my life through music. And prior releases that I'd actually had, I felt like were all purposefully timed, but not necessarily premeditated even, though, it's just making these songs and then finding like, wow, all of these go really well together, and but slowly but surely putting the tracks together over time. I don't really do like go into the studio and crank out an album in like a weekend or whatever, I take my time with the process, and I put a lot into each track, and I throw in a little bit of procrastination in there. And examination.
We're all human, but yeah.
All right, let's take us a little interlude and listen to one off of Memoir. This is Ascent Descent.
Obviously it's a big deal when you go to put out an album so, private or so something you hold so close to yourself. It's just like kind of like putting, like letting the bird fly from the nest, so to speak. So it's just, it was, a very natural process, I felt like. And I just think hopefully it speaks, in the music, and people can relate to it as well. Hopefully in their experiences they're going through, because obviously we all go through this experience, in a certain way. And, we all have a memoir, or we all have these life experiences that, can be expressed through oneself with art and music or whatever. So a lot of people aren't, don't get as in touch with the spiritual side, in a sense. And that's what music is. It's very, for me, it's always been pretty spiritual. So.
Yeah, there's definitely that in itself is sort of a, your perspective in that is I wouldn't say it's a dying breed, but if you think about like all the bands out there right now, like
right,
and the smart bands, and I don't mean like the most intelligent bands. I'm just saying like the bands that are money oriented.
Right.
We'll say that. They know that they're going to have to compose, and it's going to be about timing, and it's going to be about placement and marketing.
Right.
And I feel like just anytime you focus on any one of those things, you're going to lose what happened in this particular production, where it's a total focus on the feeling, a total focus on the end vision, not where it's going to land. Because like you said, it's universal. Everybody has this experience. Everybody does this. It's finite. All of this is, and everybody does have a story. They just are probably never going to tell it. I mean, there's so many amazing people out there that I would love for them to write their own memoirs. And then,
I think people can do it, like you said. I think people can do it in any way. It doesn't have to be like putting an album out, or it could be painting. It could be any source of artistic expression in a way to cope with life, and also to grow and learn about yourself through art. Honestly, like go into a room and in silence, and it's definitely a form of meditation, in my opinion. So I think that obviously some people lead lives that don't necessarily leave that room to have that or to give themselves that. But I think it's really important to the human experience. I couldn't just go sit in a cubicle and that'd be my life. So there's definitely a lot more to life than what we have going on in this life. So I think tapping into that in a way, music is big. with
Yeah.
and just like I was saying, any kind of artistic expression, you know, anything like that. I mean, it's just essential to life, I think.
And there's so many different ways to escape in a healthy way that through music.
Right.
You know, anytime you're listening to music, there's parts of your brain that are just like fired up.
Right.
And I feel
it's a full sensory experience.
Yeah. So it's to me, it's a healthy form of escapism. But I feel like you know, music it just has such a subjective effect on every single person. But the one thing that I feel like is universal is that it's harmless in the sense that, that it's like,
you know, it's like Bob Marley said, you know, it hits you feel no pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
And drop beats, not bombs, you know.
Yeah.
But no, and obviously, you know, I think finding peace in music is something I've always connected with, and you know, I've always sought out. Even like my dad, actually, you know, he at a very young age, I mean, exposed me to just genres upon genres, different artists. You know, I'd go to the record store with him when I was a kid and like get some tapes, and you know, he just he really opened my mind and my heart at a young age to just feeling music, you know, not just listening to it, not just hearing it per se, but listening to it and then absorbing it. And you know, I think that's I just have always thought that there's more to it than just the experience of, you know, going to a concert and whatever, having some drinks and hearing your favorite song. It's a bigger picture, and I think, you know, obviously with Memoir, I was really trying to encapsulate my career, almost my life as a musician, in a big sense, more of a deeper kind of a feeling to the album. I'd put out a lot of other stuff that, you know, I felt like a little bit more maybe friendlier to you know, people in a club aspect, or, you know, hearing it live. It's a different type of a feel. It's more of an intimate type listening experience.
Okay, let's take a break and feel some of those vibes. This is Connection off of Memoir, which is available on Bandcamp, and you can stream it anywhere, by the way.
like I love the show that you guys have going on, because it's not necessarily one genre.
Oh no,
one genre of music, which I've always said, like, fuck genres. I mean, music can be expressed in any way possible, and honestly, I feel like with an open mind, you can be touched and also really feel any style of music, by allowing yourself to.
And it's kind of like, for me, as somebody that's just fascinated, like I love people watching, and I love memoirs and biographies and autobiographies, especially once read by the author. But for me,
I've always loved them too, man.
Yeah.
I grew up always, any book I wanted to read was always a biography of somebody I looked up to.
From the source. And so it's like, if this is sort of like cheating in the sense that I go to people who are already good at telling stories, or at least try to be, and because for me, it's like, musicians, I used to be fascinated with like behind the music and all the documentaries.
I loved it. Yeah, I
was a Blink fan.
VH1 and
so it's like Urethra Chronicles and yeah, exactly. Before it was like real reality TV. That was as real.
Our generation was lucky to actually get to experience that before. It was obviously a changing industry, as everything is, but
it happened so fast that it was just it became all about commercials and not about like the art of the music.
Exactly. So. Yeah, and obviously, like, MTV Unplugged was actually something when I was a kid I was really inspired by too, to see artists come in stripped down, and just perform in a more intimate kind of setting. I loved every single MTV Unplugged. I mean, Alice in Chains, and, even Bob Dylan did one, and Bruce Springsteen, and just those kind of guys, and to hear them sit down and like just tell their stories, their music in such an intimate setting. It's kind of something that I would say, if I were to do that, this album would be that. I'd perform it in a setting like that, because it's more meaningful when you have that intimate connection with a small audience like that, and
Yeah, because they take bands that are playing arenas normally, and they throw them back out in front of 100 people.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like it's kind of it's definitely intimate, but I imagine it's got to be like nerve-wracking, because
it almost
you've kind
more
of
pressure on you when you're in that kind of situation, because. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that any artist would probably thrive on that experience. So,
that's true. And they all came out great.
Being able to tell it in a different way like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was definitely a dying.
Yeah, there's that's kind of, I mean, that's really, I mentioned that when people ask kind of what the show is. I'm like, it's kind of MTV before it went to crap. And without people that have the fame stories.
Just going off what you're saying there, I mean, I think I've heard that, the best guitarist you've heard is a guy you've never heard playing in his room. I mean, my neighbor, actually, he's like an unbelievable blues guitarist, but he's never performed anywhere in his life. Yeah. And I'm just like, I sit over here, I listen to this guy, and I'm like, and I know he's like, a middle-aged, like, Asian guy, and just like, he's just a huge music buff and loves blues. And just jams, and I'm just like, man, I see him in passing. I'm like, you're so talented. I'm like, and we've had talks about music and stuff, but he's just never wanted to do that. And I think that's pure because, actually, when I started out, I never actually really wanted to perform. I never thought about even like playing shows. I just thought about, I didn't even want to show anybody my music for like 2 years. Yeah, because I'm just like, I'm doing this for myself. It's just, maybe it wasn't ready yet, but either way, it was just, that was never my intention, was to ever like, I want to make like, sick music and like show everybody what I can do. It was just like, I needed to do this for myself. And and then I think obviously I would think that any artist, you have that right kind of perspective on it, hopefully it grows from there if you're on that path. So
that's definitely, that's how that's just somebody's passion. They're not, and maybe he's just detoured by the saturation of it, just how much it takes. I mean, he may be the best, but he may not be the best looking, or he may not have the most capital, or whatever it may be. So he's stuck.
And a lot of people don't pursue music. They don't think, like, I'm not going to be able to sell 1 million records. Tour the world. What's the point? I'm not going to make any money. I mean,
it's tainted at that point. Just right there in that moment, you've taken your talent and now you try to exploit it. And if that was never your goal in the first place, then you're kind of You know, you disappoint yourself. Maybe he knows that. He doesn't want to disappoint himself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
To get to know your neighbor.
Yeah, it's tough. Yep, exactly.
All right, pause. Go get him. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, yeah, we'll bring him over, actually. Great guy. Yeah, you guys should get to know him as well.
Yeah, I have a buddy too. His name's Garrett. Shout out Garrett. He's one of the most amazing guitarists that I know as well. And I've tried to get him to do little intros for me here on this. And he just cracks. Well, when he gets into the recording process, he's just like, I don't like it. Restart it, man. Nah. Restart it. And it's just like, bud, like, it sounded amazing. You know, nah, I like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's
can't be too critical of yourself. You know, I mean, you gotta.
But
every artist can be and can be their own best critic. But you know, obviously, the point where you too hard on yourself and you're critiquing, you know, I think you gotta like let it go a little bit. You know.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta embrace your mistakes. Jimi Hendrix said that. He said that there's people out there that are playing guitar so good they're playing my mistakes. You know,
exactly.
And so
great quote.
It was something like that. I'm paraphrasing. There's like.
Don't quote me on that one.
I should know my Jimmys, but I don't. I know my Jim Morrisons.
That's, you know, oh yeah. Well, yeah, I grew up in, like I said, my dad, you know, kind of just really exposed me to a lot of music, and that's, you know, obviously, I think a big part of my music making. You know, I don't term it really a genre because it's just my expression, my form of expression, and it just comes out however it is. But you know, I started out playing guitar and. You know, I actually played some percussion around in some of my friends' bands, and then it just kind of became something where I found like software programs and realizing, whoa, like, you know, this is pretty much like being your own band. It's like, you know, kind of composing every aspect, and for any audiophile or musician lover, like it's like, whoa, like that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. And you know, obviously, in our last 20 years is. You know, it hadn't been possible to make music like that, really, with one program like that. So it's the cusp of music right now. So
I took advantage of it. I use GarageBand for this.
Yeah,
I
even if it's just something fun you do on the side. I mean, it's just
I've never learned how to use Pro Tools because I've never really been able to afford a nice computer, or you know, all the processing to do that. I've never really had the space to do it. And so this is a nice little setup. This is a TV tray with my MacBook and then my inbox to the side over here. So it's super small. And the room that I'm in is really empty. I'm kind of in a different room tonight because of the internet. So normally I have a wall in front of me and it sounds great. This is a weird sound. It's been a while since I've done.
You sound clear through on this end.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Maybe
you have a green screen behind you.
I know. I was thinking about that. This wall is just green, which is a new thing.
So pretty soon you're gonna like turn on the projector or something. We're in Delaware,
dude. I'm gonna because I have. When I edit this video for our. I'll put it up on YouTube or Patreon or something. And I'll throw on some background. I'll throw on some stuff back there. This is my parents' house, but the internet at the house I'm living at sucks. So this is like my best option here.
Yeah, your video kind of breaks up a little.
This is the most clear interview I've had in months, dude. Months.
I must be pulling the weight on my end with my.
It is.
My new modem I got.
Those West Coast servers are way better than some of these servers out here. I hope it gets
spoiled out here in the Bay Area. Gotta get something back for all the insane amount of money we pay to live here. So,
dude, I'm telling you guys, California is gorgeous, and it's just I love the people there, but I could never live there just on that alone. Like, I don't want to work myself to death just to put a roof over my head.
I know, man. Yeah, no, it is. It's you know, you really have to work hard, and then, you know, I mean, obviously, you get into that, you know, having the other side of your life. If you're, you know, an independent artist, most of the time you're working and you're, you know, performing and doing your art on the side. So it's like, but, you know, you kind of almost have, depending on what you're doing, almost work 2 jobs to make money, and then have your third job, which is your, you know, whatever your artist and entrepreneur is. So, you know, it's tough. It gets a lot. It's hard to balance. You know, it took me, you know, for the first couple years living here to get used to the change in how much money I need to be making in order to sustain the same way of life. You know, and I moved here from the Midwest, so you know, I didn't really expect it. I didn't know, you know, I didn't really understand how much more expensive it was to live out here. So I had to get used to that. And then, you know, I was really heavily into playing shows and touring a lot, and you know, but working 2 jobs and then doing that for 5 years. I mean, I feel like I aged like probably 10 years because of the grind, you know. I mean, so you gotta love it though. I mean, you know, you work hard to play hard. Obviously, make ends meet. You know, being an artist, you're not ever guaranteed how much money you're gonna make with, you know, unless you're literally on tour. You know. So
even then,
and I like to nowadays. You know, I do like to be around at home and spend time with my cats and my girlfriend and just make music. And you know, I play select shows here and there, but I've really kind of just enjoyed having my studio now in my house and just creating. You know, getting back to what, you know, the original plan was with making music.
Yeah.
Just make it and put it out, maybe, you know, at some point, and but hold it close and, you know, make it special, and then, you know, make it count when it finally is that time to release it.
Well, I think you and your neighbor should get together, make some music, and just, you know, a closet project. And
yeah, man, I'll just
burn the tapes.
Start putting some beats down on over his blues riffs.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It could work. It'd be a different, you know, hey, no genres, you know.
Mm-hmm. You got to blend it. I've been. Have you ever heard of the Uncluded?
Haven't, no.
It is Aesop Rock and Kimya Dawson.
Aesop. And who?
Kimya Dawson from the Moldy Peaches.
Oh, okay. I've heard of the Moldy Peaches, but yeah, no. Aesop Rock, obviously, awesome, amazing lyricist.
He does the production for the beats on that, and Kimya does the guitar work. And obviously, his lyrics apply. And Kimmy is a lyricist in sort of the anti-folk realm. So those two together, it's a hell of a super group.
That sounds, very like dynamic.
Yeah, the Uncluded. Just shout out to them too. All right, let's check out the song "Peace Glider."
yeah, I mean, after finally putting this out, kind of probably going into hibernation and starting to write a lot again, is take some time to kind of process everything the last few months for, my life and what's happened just with everything personally. But, now it's time to channel it, into music now that I got this release out from my dad. So hopefully having a couple shows coming this summer, some festivals in California that tentatively might be playing later in the summer, but just keep enjoying the ride as we go,
Sounds like a plan.
trying to, man. It's tough. Life throws stuff at you, but you got to have ways to express it. And I think music's always been that. So for me, but for everybody, anything that like challenges you in life, find some way to channel it and express yourself. And we have that amazing ability to do so, being humans. So,
well, shit, man.
And hopefully, I'll be out to Texas again soon.
I will definitely make my way up there to meet you and introduce you to some more cool Texas people.
Yeah, man.
Well, Dylan, thanks for chatting with me, man.
Thanks, Chad.
I hope lots happen for you out there.
Thank you, brother.
Fist bump.
Touch it, man. Yep, digital. Straight through back down into Texas from the Bay.
Yeah, dude.
Sweet. Well, dude, it was really good to talk to you, man.
You
Great
too, man.
Thanks, Chaz.
Peace out. It was very good to talk to you, Dylan. Come up with something else, man, and we'll talk some more for sure. Always welcome back on the show. Let's see. What else did I not mention last time? Okay, so check this out. I'm supposed to mention every episode that we're on Stitcher. So if Stitcher comes knocking on your door and being like, you listen to them do this, yes, I've mentioned it every episode. I haven't skipped any, as far as you guys know. Don't go back and listen. It's at the end. You don't need to go back and listen. So Stitcher, Iheart Radio, Soundcloud, YouTube. We have some playlist, I guess, some of my favorite music and some of our listeners' favorite music on my Spotify. You can find Chasnick Rab, and it's the TBE Variety Show recommends. And I also have a playlist of all the bands that we've had featured on here, including this one. It's now in there. So stay tuned and follow that playlist for sure. There's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming up on that, including a band that I'm going to talk to very soon. I was supposed to talk to them today, and they're in the studio, so I don't want to cramp their style or anything, but they're called the Sun Collective. You can find them in my wish list at Bandcamp. Find TBE Variety Show on Bandcamp and check out the collection we have. Check out the wish list of stuff that we want to get and bands that we want to have on here. Maybe you guys can talk them into getting on here a little faster. Fan support goes a long way. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and, following us on all of our social media crap. I know that's a lot to do. And the people that invited their friends recently, and we had a big, almost 100 people follow us because of that boost. I don't know who did it, but thank you. I know you're listening because that's a fan right there. Much appreciated. The song that we are going to listen to before we go is called Don't Go. And I don't want you guys to go anywhere, but unfortunately, I got to go to work, make real money somewhere. That's what I got to do. I got to go paint a deck, as if you guys cared at all. But more importantly, I need you guys to understand one thing, all right? The world right now, as it stands, is it's getting better in some parts and it's getting crappier in some parts. So we need implants in the crappy parts. We need people who love to hug and spread on smiles and do good things wholeheartedly. We need those people in the corrupted areas. So if you're living in a good area now and you wake up and you're comfortable, move to a shitty area, make life comfortable there, and move on. That's your mission. Okay? I love you. Take care of one another and follow the golden rule.